The gravel bike, for the uninitiated, is a type of performance bike, an all-arounder capable of gravel and easy mountain bike trails, while still performing admirably on the road. Think 90s rigid mountain bike, or early cross-country, but with modern tech. This kind of bike evolved from cyclocross bikes, which are specifically designed for off-road circuit races on road-based frames. I don't actually know that much about cyclocross, and it's not really that important to this video, so I'm just going to move on. So with the popularization of gravel bikes in the last couple of years, that is, if you can even get a new bike, there has been a coinciding trend of changes in the shape of drop handlebars. The new road standard of compact drops from the older standard drop leads to an easier hand position change, shorter reach and drop, and less material, meaning marginal weight savings. But of course, this decades-old change has resulted in a shift from primary hand position to change from mostly in the drops to mostly in the hoods position. With flared drops, this tradition continues upwards. So with gravel bikes' requirement to work off-road, there are obviously some technological differences to make them work. Since the bikes still utilize the double diamond road shape, there are still a lot of other ways to improve the experience in lightweight, techy ways. Like, throw carbon fiber at your problems, make the frame clearance really big so you can fit tires just under 2 inches in there, boosted hubs for massive 1x gear range, and massive multi-piston brakes. Fuck it, let's throw in a pedal assist motor and enough frame mounts to challenge a touring bike. Specialized uses a proprietary head tube shock system to reduce vibrations from reaching the handlebars. But don't act like this is revolutionary. Cannondale was doing this shit in the 90s on mountain bikes. Here's my dad's one for an example. And even some gravel bikes have gravel-specific short travel suspension forks with a suspension seat post to boot. So now I'm actually going to talk about the handlebars and why I don't like them. But you forgot to mention how the Yeah, shut up. So it's a lot easier and cheaper to slightly change the shape of handlebars on a bike in order to reach an optimal confluence of roadie speed and off-road maneuverability than it would be to do all of the bike-specific modifications previously mentioned. So then what are the real advantages of the flared drop bar? Well, the shallower drop allows for easy transition between hand positions, but more importantly, the flare significantly widens the overall hand position, similar to that of a cross-country mountain bike. This allows for increased maneuverability in the drop position through rocky or otherwise technical terrain with relative ease. Dropping into the drop position also allows for greater leverage when pulling the brake levers, which is very helpful if your bike has anything more paltry than hydraulic disc brakes. But this position also has its downside. Similar to 90s cross-country, a gravel bike has a long and low, relatively aggressive riding position, with the saddle resting higher than the handlebars. This position puts more force on the front end of the bike, loading the already undampened front, increasing the likelihood of a collision. Staying in the drops furthers this front end downward force, making the problem worse. And can we admit that they just kind of look ugly? Because when the bar reaches a severe enough angle, the hoods are also affected, causing the levers to stick out wider than the bar itself, resulting in an awkward crab claw looking thing. It's especially bad with SRAM levers, which are designed with even more outswing. So the difference in terms of fit is that a standard or compact drop bar is designed to fit evenly with shoulder width, whereas the flared drop bar sits slightly past shoulder width. This is less comfortable as it requires you to spread out the arms in most cases. Also, the flare puts a slight bend in the bar where the levers sit, so you are actually rotating your wrists at a slight angle, which puts even more pressure on them. Personally, I enjoy a drop with a center-to-center hood measurement of 42 centimeters and 68 centimeters on mountain bikes. This is the common width for most riders of average adult height, so it's generally not recommended to go over 44 centimeters unless you're like well above 6 feet tall. This is generally a recommendation for road bikes and not by any means advice on bike setup, but just so you know. To examine why this is a fitment issue, I'll use my own as an example. This is a 2022 Poseidon X, I think. It has the same handlebars as this year's model for reference. Sure, it's not the flashiest gravel bike, but that's not the point. So I have this piece of painter's tape here because the cable keeps rubbing against it and actually started stripping the paint a little bit. So that's just there to protect the frame. The stock bars have a center-to-center hood length of 45 centimeters, with a 58 centimeter width at the drops. I think it looks kind of stupid, and not just because of the side-mounted shifter cable. That's actually kind of handy when attaching a handlebar bag. I've taken this bike on 2 separate 2-day-long bike packing trips now, and over long periods of time the hand positions can become quite uncomfortable. I put on a slightly steeper and shorter stem, which provides a slightly more upright position, and the current saddle is a little hard, so I might be making those changes pretty soon. But the bars remain an ergonomic issue. This bike is actually pretty capable as a tourer, so especially when the bike is loaded, being comfortable is more important than having slightly better maneuverability. This gravel handles admirably. Whee! Anyway, where was I? But with everything I've said, choosing the right handlebars for you, much like choosing the right saddle, is dependent on environmental factors, bike usage, budget, and comfort. So it doesn't really matter if you save 20 grams on your new handlebars if they cause you back pain. I don't know, ride your damn bike.